My dear friends, we live in an age where masks are no longer reserved for masquerades. They have become fixtures of personalities. Today, I wish to speak to you not with fear, but with wisdom about a subject both sobering and necessary. The marks of a dangerous soul, a psychopath, cloaked in charm but void of conscience. They charm without compassion. At first glance, they seem almost perfect, courteous, engaging, even magnetic. Their words fall like gentle rain on dry ground, reviving the weary heart and making one feel seen, even cherished. But listen closely, and you'll notice something is missing: warmth without substance, light without heat. The psychopath's charm is not the blossom of a loving heart, it is a calculated performance, a mask polished with precision to reflect only what you hope to see. This charm does not rise from an overflow of the heart, it is mechanical. Like a skilled actor on stage, they know their lines. They watch your reactions and fine-tune their tone, their timing, their flattery, not to love you, but to disarm you. Their smile, though perfect, never reaches their eyes. Their compliments are not bridges of sincerity, but baited hooks. You might mistake it for love. You might think you found someone who understands you, someone who listens with their soul. But in truth, they are not listening to care, they are listening to control. They study your weaknesses like a hunter stalks his prey. Patiently, silently, with one goal: to use what they learn against you when the time is right. Theirs is not affection but influence, not admiration but manipulation. And herein lies the danger. You begin to feel special, chosen, set apart, as Eve must have felt when the serpent singled her out in the garden. But behind every kind word is a string, and with every string a motive. This kind of charm has deceived kings and saints, toppled empires, and ruined lives. Because it is not born of love, it is not constrained by conscience. There are no boundaries it will not cross if the goal justifies the means. It flatters to seduce, smiles to deceive, and praises to possess. What looks like favor is a facade. What feels like destiny is often a trap. And if you dare to step back, to question the sincerity, you'll see what lies beneath. Not woundedness seeking healing, but coldness seeking control. They charm, yes, but not to build communion. They charm to conquer, and once the conquest is complete, the charm vanishes like morning mist. So when you feel drawn to someone whose attention seems too good to be true, ask yourself not just what they say, but why they say it. Because when charm comes without compassion, it is not a gift, it is a warning. And if you ignore it, you will not only lose your trust, you may lose your peace, your clarity, even your soul. Run not because you are afraid, but because you are wise. They manipulate with mastery. There is no accident in their deceit, no hesitation in their tactics. It is deliberate, precise, a dark craft refined through years of practice, often masked beneath the surface of civility and concern. You will rarely see it coming, for manipulation does not knock at the door loudly. It slips in through the cracks of your kindness, your trust, your desire to believe the best in people. They twist reality like a potter molds clay, reshaping facts, emotions, and even your memories until you begin to doubt yourself. They do not simply lie, no. Their manipulation is far more insidious. They mix truth with falsehood, distortion with fact, all to make you question the ground beneath your feet. Like Satan in the desert, they quote truth only to lead you into temptation. They plant subtle doubts. Are you sure that happened? Maybe you misunderstood. You're too sensitive. And slowly, like water dripping on stone, your certainty begins to erode. You see, the goal of the manipulator is not to convince you of their goodness, but to make you forget your own judgment. They aim to disorient, to entangle your emotions so tightly that logic can no longer breathe. They turn your empathy into a leash, your loyalty into a cage. One day, you find yourself defending them, even as they continue to harm you, because you have been conditioned to believe that the problem is you. If you confront them, they will not respond with remorse, they will respond with strategy. They may play the victim, twist the story, redirect the blame, or erupt in righteous indignation, not to clarify, but to confuse. Their goal is not resolution, but domination of the narrative. They are not interested in truth, only in winning the emotional battle. And the most tragic part, you will often feel that walking away from them is cruel, because they have painted themselves as broken or misunderstood, a misunderstood genius, a wounded soul, a maligned saint. But their pain, if it exists at all, is not something they share with vulnerability. It is a weapon, a smokescreen. They manipulate through guilt, through pity, through the very virtues that make you human. They wear 1,000 faces, the humble helper, the misunderstood martyr, the passionate lover, the wise guide. But every face is a mask, and behind the mask, there is no empathy, only calculation. Their words are chess moves. Their apologies are tactics. Their promises are contracts written in disappearing ink. You cannot reason with them, for every argument you bring becomes a tool in their hands. You cannot outmaneuver them, because they've already played out your next 10 responses. The only defense, the only victory, is to recognize the game and walk away. To be manipulated is not a sign of weakness. It is often the result of having too much heart in a world where some have none. But once you see the pattern, once the fog clears, you must reclaim your voice, your clarity, your dignity. Do not engage. Do not explain. Do not try to win their approval. Withdraw not in bitterness, but in truth, and let them face the silence where manipulation cannot echo. They lack empathy but mimic emotion. It is one of the most chilling qualities. They possess this ability to perform the outward signs of feeling without actually feeling anything at all. You see, empathy is the ability to place oneself in another's shoes, to feel the sorrow in someone's silence, to sense pain even when words are absent. But these individuals have no such compass. They observe emotion, they study it, they replicate it with astonishing precision, but it is all performance, a carefully rehearsed illusion meant to deceive and disarm. Their tears are strategic. Their laughter is timely. Their sympathy is scripted. They know when to frown, when to place a gentle hand on your shoulder, when to say, "I'm here for you." But it is not from them, it is for you. They project the image of care not because they carry your burden in their heart, but because it helps them achieve their aim. They do not feel the weight of your grief. They simply know how to behave around it to appear supportive, compassionate, or trustworthy. Watch closely. When real tragedy strikes not theirs, but someone else's, you may notice a flicker of detachment, perhaps even boredom. But they will recover quickly, reaching for the appropriate reaction like a mask in a drawer. They will cry without sorrow, console without connection, and say all the right things with none of the right intentions. It is emotional mimicry, not empathy, but its counterfeit. What makes this so dangerous is that the average person assumes emotion is always genuine. When we see someone cry, we believe they are in pain. When someone comforts us, we assume they care. We are wired for connection, and we trust that others possess the same emotional depth we do. But the psychopath trades on that assumption. Their ability to mimic emotion becomes their weapon. It is the wolf wearing not only the skin of the sheep but its tears. And because they do not feel guilt, sorrow, or remorse, they are not bound by the natural limits that empathy places on the human heart. Where you would hesitate to hurt someone, they would not. Where you would apologize and seek to make things right, they would adjust their performance, not their conscience. They will say, "I'm sorry," if it benefits them, not because they mean it. Their apologies are chess pieces, not olive branches. You may notice something else, too, an emptiness behind their eyes, a lack of resonance. When others are moved by a moment, they remain still, calculating what the moment demands rather than what it evokes. And when they do respond, it is often exaggerated, a forced laugh too loud, a tear too perfectly timed, a story too neatly emotional. They overact to hide what is not there. In time, if you are close to one of these individuals, you will feel something deeply unsettling. You will feel alone, even while being consoled. You will feel misunderstood, even while being praised. You will sense that something is off, even if you can't explain it. That is your soul recognizing a hollow where a heart should be. The absence of empathy is not simply a flaw, it is a void. And in that void, anything can grow. Cruelty, deceit, betrayal, manipulation. Because there is nothing to restrain it. Without empathy, there is no anchor, no moral compass, no internal voice that says, "This will hurt someone, don't do it." And if that voice is absent, what remains is a creature capable of anything, so long as it suits their will. Do not be fooled by appearances. Emotion without empathy is a lie. It is not love. It is not care. It is not friendship. It is camouflage. And if you stay too close for too long, you may find that your own emotions begin to dim, your own trust begins to erode, and your own heart begins to close, not because you've changed, but because you've been slowly suffocated in a relationship with someone who feigns feeling but never truly feels. Trust your intuition. If you sense the absence of empathy behind the mask of emotion, listen. That still, small voice may be the only thing standing between your peace and their performance. They never accept blame. To them, being wrong is not merely uncomfortable, it is impossible. Their pride is not ordinary ego. It is a fortress, impenetrable and well defended. In their world, accountability is weakness, and responsibility is a threat to the image they have so carefully constructed. To admit fault would be to admit imperfection, and that is something their inner world simply cannot accommodate. When something goes wrong, a relationship breaks down, a project fails, a friend walks away, they will twist every detail to ensure they remain untouched. It was your overreaction, your misunderstanding, your sensitivity, your betrayal. They will rewrite history in real time, turning themselves from perpetrator to victim, from aggressor to martyr. They have an uncanny ability to recall events not as they happened, but as they need them to be remembered, and they will tell these revised stories with such conviction that even you may begin to question your memory. This denial of blame is not just stubbornness, it is a mechanism of control. By refusing to take ownership, they place you in the position of always needing to explain yourself, always second, guessing your instincts. They will make you feel guilty for bringing up the problem in the first place. You're too sensitive. You're always starting drama. You never let things go. Over time, you stop raising concerns, not because the issues are gone, but because you've been trained to believe that every confrontation will end with you being wrong, even when you're not. Their defensiveness is not a reaction, it's a strategy. If you push too hard, they may turn cold or aggressive. They may stonewall you, explode in rage, or withdraw affection until you come back, apologizing for what they did. This is emotional blackmail disguised as righteous indignation. It is the deliberate reshaping of conflict to ensure they emerge untarnished, and you emerge confused, regretful, and subdued. Even when they are caught red-handed, with irrefutable evidence, they do not admit guilt. Instead, they deflect. It wasn't what it looked like. I didn't mean it that way. You drove me to it. They will say anything to shift the weight off themselves and onto someone else, especially the very people who love them most. This pattern is deeply destructive because relationships require the humility to say, "I was wrong." Without that, healing is impossible. But they don't seek healing, they seek dominance. In their world, the goal is not reconciliation, but preservation of self-image. They would rather destroy a connection than admit fault. They would rather let the truth rot in silence than bow to it. And perhaps the most painful part is this: when they wrong you, they will act as though you have hurt them. They will wear the cloak of the offended party, even while standing amid the wreckage they caused. They will cry louder than you, act more betrayed than you, and convince others that you were the one who inflicted the wound. This is not just denial, it is inversion. The deliberate flipping of truth to serve their narrative. Over time, if you stay entangled with someone who never accepts blame, you will find yourself apologizing for things you didn't do, carrying burdens that aren't yours, and losing sight of where you end and they begin. You will grow weary not because you are fragile, but because your soul was not meant to carry the blame of two people. And when you finally collapse under the weight of their denial, they will stand above you and ask, "What's wrong with you?" Do not be deceived. The refusal to accept blame is not strength, it is cowardice disguised as confidence. It is the mask of arrogance worn by someone terrified of the truth. And if they cannot face their own failures, they will never grow, never change, and never truly love, because love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires accountability. Walk away from those who make you doubt the truth to protect their illusion. Do not argue, do not beg, do not try to make them see. The longer you wait for an apology that will never come, the longer you deny yourself the peace that can. They exploit your virtue, not your flaws, not your vices, but the very best parts of you. Your kindness, your patience, your loyalty, your desire to see the good in others, these are the traits they target. Not because they admire them, but because they know how to use them against you. To the psychopath, virtue is not sacred. It is not something to honor or emulate. It is something to weaponize. They study you carefully. They notice how your heart bends toward compassion, how you're quick to forgive, how you believe in second chances and third and fourth. They see how your empathy opens doors others don't even knock on. And instead of being inspired by your goodness, they see an opportunity. You become, to them, a tool, a person whose virtue can be stretched thin until it snaps. They will test the boundaries of your grace by pushing past them slowly at first, then more boldly. They will betray you in small ways, offer shallow apologies, and watch how readily you forgive. Then they'll go further. They'll wound you deeper, make the excuses longer, and rely on your own values to keep you from walking away. You're supposed to be loving. I thought you believed in mercy. You're always preaching about grace, what happened to it now? And you'll pause. Not because they're right, but because you are trying to be consistent with who you are. That's the cruel irony. They use your integrity to manipulate your conscience. They turn your moral compass into a leash, and every time you try to pull away, they tug on the very strings you've tied to your deepest beliefs. They exploit your willingness to see the good in others by hiding behind it. You tell yourself they're hurting, or they didn't mean it, or everyone deserves love, and they nod, agreeing with you, all while planning the next wound. They become the broken soul in need of your healing. The misunderstood genius who only you can see clearly. The deeply scarred individual who just needs one more chance. But it is all a ruse, because the truth is, they are not trying to be better. They are trying to stay in control. They are not looking for transformation, they are feeding on your desire to rescue them. And the more you give, the more they demand. The more you forgive, the more they transgress. Until one day, you wake up and realize that you are no longer acting from love, but from fear of disappointing them, fear of breaking your own code of honor, fear of being blamed if they finally collapse. Your virtue, once a source of strength and light, now feels like a trap, not because it is flawed, but because it has been twisted in the hands of someone who does not value it. They will turn your generosity into obligation, your patience into silence, your humility into submission. And in doing so, they don't just hurt you, they slowly corrupt the very goodness that defines you. This is not your failure. This is the mark of their darkness, to seek out light, not to walk in it, but to snuff it out. They exploit your virtue because they have none of their own. They cannot love deeply, so they pretend. They cannot grow spiritually, so they drag others down. They cannot admire true goodness, so they manipulate it, use it, drain it. The most dangerous person is not always the one who attacks your weaknesses. It is the one who learns how to weaponize your strengths. The one who knows how much you can endure and takes advantage of your endurance. The one who studies your love and twists it into a chain. You were not made to be someone's emotional hostage. Love does not demand your destruction. Mercy does not mean enabling evil. Virtue does not mean martyring yourself on the altar of someone else's manipulation. There is a holiness in boundaries, a sacredness in saying no more. Even Christ walked away from those who refused to change, and he was perfect love incarnate. So if someone is exploiting your virtue, recognize the game. Step away, not because your kindness failed, but because it deserves to be guarded. Let your virtue remain a light, not a leash. Let your heart stay soft, but your wisdom grow strong. You were made to give love, not to be consumed by the loveless. So, if a person charms without love, manipulates without guilt, mimics without empathy, denies without reflection, and exploits without remorse, do not evangelize them. Do not reason with them. Do not rescue them. Run, not in hatred but in wisdom. For even Christ walked away from those who sought only to trap him, not to be transformed by him. And remember this, the only thing more dangerous than a wolf in sheep's clothing is the sheep who refuses to believe the wolf exists. Stay awake, my friends. Love boldly, but guard your soul wisely. Amen.